So the mind games have begun. 1 week before the first test match at Loftus Versfeld in Pretoria between world champion South Africa and Six Nations champions Ireland, a massively hyped series. That's why I'm here in South Africa to watch these two games. And Rassie Erasmus has dropped what he thinks is Andy Farrell's 23-man squad. Question is he right? And question is, what impact, if anything, will the mind games have? Really interesting. That's what I want to talk about on this video. Would love your comments down below. Give the video a thumbs up to help me spread the word, because it's just me. But I love my rugby, and if you get value from the channel and you love your rugby as well, hit subscribe. What I'm going to do at the end of the video, I'm going to give you a little flavour of what I've been up to in South Africa over the last couple of days. It involves animals and a different type of animal, a couple of Springboks, but internationals as well. Yeah, I've got something to tell you about those. I've bumped into some very well-known people. More on that in a little bit. I'm sat in my hotel room, the new hotel Rue de Port, for the final night. I'm heading off for safari for a few days tomorrow, and then I'll be back in Pretoria ahead of the first test, of course. But I'll be talking about rugby on the channel all the time. So like I say, hit subscribe, and let's talk about this first. I think this is such a fun move from Rassie Erasmus. I mean, there's so much to love about it. As a little move, it just hypes the match up even more, and we need that. This feels like the sort of thing that boxing promoters do before a big heavyweight championship fight. Do you know what I mean? And this is, in rugby terms, this is as good as rugby gets in 2024. The World Cup last year was incredible. Normally, the year after a World Cup feels a little bit meh, because nothing lives up to the World Cup. But England in New Zealand is going to be great. Ireland in South Africa is going to be epic, because South Africa have not beaten Ireland since 2016. Yes, they won the World Cup, but the blemish on their record was they lost in the pool stages. Now, South African fans might argue, well, yeah, they were just experimenting in that pool game and it didn't really matter, which I would agree with, but it's just a little blemish. And when you actually look at the last 12 matches, Ireland have won 8 of them. So I think the Boks are going to be very much out to prove a point, and Ireland absolutely the same. We also heard Rassie Erasmus saying, let's spice it up, when that Simon Zebo's words, Simon Zebo said, were taken out of context. And when he said, what was he, did he say that Rassie hates Ireland? And Rassie was like, yeah, just let's hype it up. Again, just feeling like he's actually doing the job of promoting the sport by getting people talk about it. And that's what I want you to do as well, talk about it down below. Now, the question is, if Rassie Erasmus's 23-man squad is correct, does that mean Andy Farrell's a little bit too predictable? Or actually, if you want to have a glass half full, Andy Farrell's very consistent and knows his best team, and that's a good thing. And certainly, I'd say more people would be able to guess the Ireland 23 than the South Africa 23. And you can argue whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. So, oh, he also teased, that's what he did, I'll put the 23 up, but he also teased his own team by giving us the weight, the age and the number of caps of his team. Now, I haven't got time to sit down with an abacus and work out what Rassie's team is that he didn't show us, but the little tease gave some clues away. I'm sure someone will have the time. I also like some of the, have a look at the team, I also like some of the spellings. I mean, Ryan Bird and Nick Tominey, just getting it ever so slightly wrong, you know, when it's like a power move, isn't it? Oh, hi, John, my name's James. Oh, yeah, whatever. Just a power move. I don't think that's what's going on. I'm sure it was an honest mistake. But my favourite one, MC McCarthy. Does Joe McCarthy have some rapping skills I'm not aware of? If so, I need to see them. So anyway, he's made, that's what he also did. It's the weekend. It's obviously a little bit of downtime. The Boks have done their training. They're having a little bit of time off. And Rassie Erasmus opens up his laptop, starts making a spreadsheet, even making formulas to add up columns. I love it. Anyway, as for the team, is he correct? Front 5, yes. It picks itself, doesn't it? And that's partly due to well, I don't know about a lack of depth. They've got lots of good players, but there's no one on the fringes that's been tried and tested, and you would have confidence over and above the players that are there. And that front row in particular is, I mean, in fact, the whole front 5 is exceptional. One of the best front 5s in the world. And will, I believe, do a decent job of going toe-to-toe with South Africa. So it will be Andrew Porter and Tyg Furlong as props. It will be Dan Sheehan at hooker. And it will be Joe McCarthy and Tyg Byrne at second row. Just on the spelling, by the way, you have to give Rassie credit for getting the Irish spellings correctly. I've spelt that wrong a bunch of times. And he did Connor properly with just the one N as well. So little touches, fair enough. Healy and it's just a Y, not an EY. So yeah, you've got to give him credit where it's due. And James Ryan will be on the bench as well. So I think I think the front row replacements, he's got it absolutely spot on as well. So yeah, let's move to the back row. Now this is a little bit more of a question mark because Josh van der Flier and Peter O'Mahony have not been playing as well as they have done in previous seasons. Their experience is absolutely massive, and we've seen that Rassie Erasmus has picked a very experienced South African squad, and that experience sometimes gets overlooked. Form is important, but having been there and done it and been in those tight games against those big oppositions and having the experience and the psychology to be able to deal with that is absolutely massive. A friend reminded me the other day of the phrase, and he used to be a military man, and he said you should always fear an old soldier because they've seen things and they've got skills that means that they're still there. So I think Rassie is correct. It will be Peter O'Mahony, it will be Josh van der Flier, and it will be Caelan Doris in the back row. Halfbacks, no Jamison Gibson-Park, an irreplaceable player. You cannot replace him, but I think Rassie is correct. I think it is going to be Craig Casey starting with Conor Murray on the bench because Blade is a step down for both of those two. I don't know what John Cooney did to upset Andy Farrell. I don't know if he's got some... I don't know what he did, but I don't understand why he's been overlooked again. And the fact that, Conor Murray, what a servant, what a player, but the fact he is still an Irish international against the world champions at this stage would be a cause for concern, or at least it should be a cause for concern that there isn't someone else that you would have the confidence to step in as well, because they need to start looking beyond that. Rassie, obviously, Jack Crowley is going to be 10. Centre, I think Rassie's got it absolutely spot on again. Bundy Aki and Gary Ringrose. Amazing combination over the last few years. Robbie Henshaw has been backing them up brilliantly, and without Gary Ringrose for Leinster, Robbie Henshaw has been excellent. But those two are different class, attack and defence. And Gary Ringrose, it's hard to say. Jameson Gibson-Park's been Ireland's most important player. Hugo Keenan as well. But aside from those two, it's Gary Ringrose. James Lowe's going to be on the wing, and Calvin Nash, really good in the Six Nations. They will be the wingers. And fullback, no Hugo Keenan, another irreplaceable player. I think Rassie has got the whole 15 absolutely spot on. As for the bench, that is the only place that I think there might be a debate here. Rassie has guessed a 6-2 split with Conor Murray and Kieran Frawley as the back replacements, and Nick Timoney and Ryan Baird as the back row replacements. To be honest, that's what I would pick. I don't. If it's a 5-3 split, I just don't think he's going to pick Prendergast. There's some people been sort of going, oh no, I want Prendergast in on the bench. No, give him time. No, I just don't think this is the right place at the right time. Loftus Versfeld in front of that crowd, world champions, hostile. I do think at altitude, with the physical domination you need to put in order, as Ireland did in Paris in that pool game, that win was based on just brutality from the forwards. And they're going to need that again. And Nick Timoney's been playing out of his skin this season. And I would, bearing in mind what I said about Josh van der Flier and Peter O'Mahony, I would pick Baird and Timoney, and I would have Kieran Frawley as your utility back with Conor Murray. And I would not have, it's harsh. Robbie Henshaw, great player. You couldn't risk it. I was going to say you could risk having Henshaw instead of Frawley, but you really can't because of the fly half situation. That would be a risk. So there you go. That's my thoughts. Let me know. I think Rassie might have the whole 23 absolutely spot on. And again, I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing from Andy Farrell's perspective. He knows his players, knows what they're capable of. They've been there and they've done it in Six Nations and in big World Cup matches. Yeah, fine, quarterfinals. We don't need to labour that point. But they're a tried and tested bunch of players that maybe have some concerns in a year or two's time, and they need to start bringing some through. But you don't need to start bringing players through when you're playing South Africa in South Africa. Have a crack. So there we go. Your thoughts on the channel. Thank you very much. As I said, I will run you through what I've been up to the last couple of days. So if you just wanted to watch the rugby, you can stop there. Do hit subscribe and come back for the other stuff. But if you are curious, there are some South African internationals that I will mention now. Because, well, I'm at the A New Hotel Rudaport, and I have to thank A New Hotels and Resorts once more for their support of the channel, helping making this trip to South Africa possible. I'm so grateful, and well, lovely room that I've got where I've been able to do some work and do this video from. So next time you're in South Africa, if you need a home from home, next time you may be planning a trip for the URC to come out here and see a game, or some internationals, or I don't know, on business or on a holiday, whatever, anewhotels.co.za. Now, I've had a couple of amazing days. Well, let me show you. Yanu, who is he's connected with Monash School. He's the team doctor for the Monash boys, and he's part of the Witbuller Old Boys, the old Witbuller White Bull Old Boys. He used his contacts to get us into Ellis Park, and as you might have seen on the video that I posted previously, I went and stood on the pitch at Ellis Park on the spot where Joel Stransky slotted that drop goal in the 1995 Rugby World Cup final. And then Yanu took me to Jeppe High School, one of the fine rugby schools in South Africa, in Johannesburg. And Jeppe had a big win against Gray's College this season, one of the biggest schoolboy rugby upsets in maybe 50 years. And that was playing host to the Craven Week B competition, where there were a load of younger and the B sides, and Namibia and Zimbabwe had teams there, and the standard of play, again, was outstanding. Then he took me to meet at Dross, which is, well, the owner of Dross, this brilliant bar and restaurant, bar and grill, told me that it's the biggest seller of brandy in all of South Africa. And I had a brandy and coke with Willem Alberts, the bone collector. What a player. Only just retired from playing rugby. And was he 39 when he retired? 39 or 40. What an absolute legend for South Africa and wherever he's played. The Lions or for Stade Francais. And a lovely man. And like I say, brandy and cokes with Willem Alberts was enough to finish me off for the day. But I did wake up early this morning, though, to go cycling. I got up, and before sunrise, I was at Cradle Moon, just about 20 minutes up the road here, with Rory Steyn, who invited me. Now, he is the father of Kyle Steyn, Glasgow Warrior and Scotland winger. He lives up the road here. Kyle Steyn of Glasgow Warriors, who had a famous win just up the road in Pretoria in that URC final the other weekend. Now, Rory lives up the road. He watches the channel and said I need to come out into the bush, and said he'd sort me out with a bike, and that before breakfast I'd be cycling with zebra, wildebeest and giraffe. I didn't totally believe him, but have a look. That is exactly what happened. It was amazing. And yeah, as you can see, I'm having the best of times. And then it was the Craven Week final match back at Monash School, Monument School. The final matches, there was the Bulls v the Sharks. Lions were also in action again. But the final match, the two unbeaten teams, the Free State Cheetahs against Western Province, the standard of play in that game, just exceptional. And there were loads of newly named South African schools internationals out on the pitch. I caught Juan de Jong, former South African international, and I bumped into him a few times when he was over in the UK playing for Wasps. And keep an eye out on the channel soon, because he is going to be featuring, don't you worry. And then I sat down to watch the Under-20s Rugby World Cup when Rassie Erasmus did Rassie Erasmus things, and I'm here making this video, and you're watching it, and hopefully you're going to comment on it and give the video a thumbs up and hit subscribe. Right, I need to get packed up because I'm off for safari for a few days. I'll see you on the next one.